Alright, so first shit, do this /WA. You guys already know that stuff. If you go to that link that I sent you, you just copy the weak aura, you import it, does that, import group, and then you have this setup right here. Um, Easiest thing to kind of see what's being tracked and what's like going on. Um, you would show this right here. Um, you see all these items here. You don't see anything that's on the screen right now except right here. Let's just move it over here to make life easier. Right now, if you're looking at all this stuff, you see most of this stuff right here is listed as hide. Without going through like literally every single thing, you obviously want to kind of keep track of what's going on with world buffs and all that good stuff. Um, so what I would do right here, for example, is I obviously want to see if I have the ZG buff. You can do something like that, and then usually when you hop out, you see right here, it's got Ani buff, Spirit of Zandalar, right? For my settings, typically what I do is I have, I want to make sure that I have roids checked off, all that kind of stuff. So let's go to Titans. We're going to show, obviously don't care about Distilled Wisdom or Power. Flurry, don't really care about either. I want to make sure I have Juju Might on. Juju Power. I guess for the Juju Might, if you're looking at Winterfall, Firewater, and all that good stuff, you don't really need to care about that. Um, Roids. I put the Agility Blasted Land buffs as show as well. Mongoose, obviously, you want to make sure you're always having that on just in case you're missing it. Don't care about that. Don't care about Firepower. You can put the Zanza buffs if you want. I don't really put those right now. Firewater, like I mentioned, I put that on show. Um, you already know that if you're going to be using the Might, you can't use the Firewater and such. Um, the Sunfruit I put on. Typically, you're going to use the Dumplings food before you use the Sunfruit. Before we start the raid or like a speed run, but then the rest of the raid, usually you only need one Sunfruit after that, but it's immediate, so it's easy. I don't really track some of these. I guess you could do the green gog if you want, but not a huge deal if you don't have that on. Um, the rest of the stuff I don't really think you need in terms of you know buffs. And I don't think I have the weapon stone stuff shown on here, which I don't really think matters that much. World buffs, I have that shown. I have Rally Cry shown, that shown. We don't have this buff yet. War Chiefs, I have that, to show as well. Fungus Ferocity, have that shown. I keep Slipkick Savvy just because, that's one of the first buffs I get, so it gets pushed off my list if I start approaching buff cap. So I kind of want that on there just in case, it disappears. If your Ragnaros don't read or don't need Resist Fire, that's a UBRS buff. Dark Whispers don't care. Arcane Might don't care about that kind of stuff. So basically, when this is all said and done, um, again, you could put Elemental Sharpening Stone if you want. I have that. I'll put it shown. If you notice, though, it says that it's ignored, um, meaning that the it's like not counted, pretty much like it used to be. This used to be count. So once that's said and done, this should kind of look like here. This should look like this. A little messy. I'll move the anchor. I'll just move the whole damn thing actually. So I kind of keep it like this. And then right here, obviously, as shit falls off, you'll notice that that goes here. So right now I have two buffs. One's my mount, and one's my stance. So I dismount, and I only have one buff. You see, okay, I can check Ani, my AP buff, my UBRS buff, ZG buff, Slipkick Savvy, Songflower, um, yeah, Moldars, all the DM buffs, War Chiefs. I forgot to put Darkmoon Fair. That's fine. You can just find that buff and do that yourself. Um, and then, yeah, you always want to have either, Elixir Mongoose, you want to have Roids, Juju Power, Firewater. Um, the enchants, I believe, are the weapon stones. I'm not too sure. But again, you don't really need to track those that much because you need to look over in the upper right hand corner right here. So yeah, anyway, the sorry about that. So now for the passive buff issue, you're not really gonna deal with it out of combat that much. So the biggest thing is this weak aura is not going to take buffs off of you in combat. So if you have a priest throwing something on you or some type of hot or whatnot, then you don't have to really worry too much about it because you're going to be in combat a majority of the time. So what I do for that is I use that save buffs that I had also linked. Um, so for that, same kind of setup. And again, this is going to be one of the links I provided. Import that. That's here. This is pretty simple. Same thing. Action tab. You expand here. This is kind of the standard setup it has. Right now, we don't want to. We want to keep dampen magic on us because we're going to be using that throughout the suppression room. So literally just deleting that line. And you can add and subtract things as you want on here. Bloodthirst is also on here because obviously you get the healing buff and it immediately cancels it. Um, the healing wave, that's for horde related stuff. Don't really care. And then, if you want to add or subtract things on here, um, something that I actually add that a lot of people don't think about is tracking minerals. So if you notice right here, or find minerals, whatever, it's called find minerals. So you literally can just add, because I've had that on before by accident in raid. You can literally just, do that, paste that in there, change that, and then yeah, from there that's kind of just set up exactly like that. And so what this whole setup is like, obviously it's just all the lists and the buffs and everything like that you're looking at. And then from there, what they call it, this is a local name, it's called SB. So I typically have my setup, actually I would leave renew for now. Take that off the list, I guess. So now that's done. So you got this kind of listing all your stuff that you needed, that you can kind of keep tabs on. Um, you know, Anything else that you want to change. Like I said, I need to add the Darkmoon Fair buff on here still. But yeah, now so you're kind of set up, and I typically have my regular Bloodthirst macro, which is literally start attack, cast Bloodthirst, and if you don't have start attack on your weapon bounds, you fucking suck. But yeah, beyond that, when I go into raid, actually what I do is I switch my Bloodthirst macro from this one that I use to this one. Only difference is there's a / click SB, and how I mentioned that weak aura, that whole weak aura is defined as SB. So what this does is it basically makes it so that each time I'm hitting Bloodthirst, it's basically clearing those unneeded buffs or unnecessary buffs that I don't want. So in this case, I still have two buffs right here, right? And then I have this Finding Minerals buff, and if I just literally tap 3, you'll notice it disappears. Okay, never mind. That's my mess up. Let me double check to make sure I did that right. Let's see, find minerals. Should work. I don't know why it's not working right now. Huh. Anyway, regardless, it should be doing the rest of those other buffs that we have on there. So, I think that should be it. Alright.